Shalom, all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Bahasham, Achakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, pushing this 100% truth of the gospel, waking up and sealing the elect of the nation of Israel through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh. And salutations to all you sincere Akimata that are pushing this gospel in all righteousness and in all sincerity, risking your lives and your freedom to do so. Yeah, okay, so what I'm just going to be doing, I'm going to be making a response to these comments that you see right here under one of the posts that the elder Malcolm made a while back, a week ago. He made this post talking about smart wives empty their husbands before they leave. And I'm sure that the majority of the a lot of the Akim saw it, but basically the video that was under it was from this YouTuber, rather submissive wife, happy life. I believe that's how the video was. I believe that's the channel of the video. And basically, she was going into how she gives her husband oral sex every day before he leaves for work. All right, and Malcolm co-signed that. He agreed, and brothers were all in agreement, and even I myself, because that is in the scriptures. Okay, that's just the first and foremost. In fact, since we are on that, let me just go and get it. Let me go and get it. Because that's in the scriptures. In New Testament, it's no less. So let me get that. So let me jump to it. All right. So can I look for? Okay, this is the wrong place. Let me go and get it in the. So let me hold on. Let me remember how it goes. All right. Let me get it. All right. So this is the book of 1 Corinthians 7 verse 4. The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. And that's going into what? That if you have that if your husband, all right, if you as a woman, if your husband is horny and is looking for sex, okay, that you should give it to him, because that is in your duties as a wife, to satisfy your husband. All right, the same, and likewise conversely with the husband, to satisfy the wife. All right, because what you have in this modern day, man, you see these women out here talk, whenever I can't really say for myself, since I'm not actually married, but you hear the stories, okay, you see what other men are experiencing, and you see them talking about it constantly, how whenever they're trying to get some, whenever they're trying to get some from their wives, they always get these different excuses. Oh, I'm too tired, I'm not in the mood, that's the main excuses. All right, and they always make these jokes about how when you are married you are getting less sex than even when you are unmarried, okay, because these women out here, they started to do that, which of course, it's not like it's not like it's wicked or anything to withhold sex from your husband, which because even the apostle Paul said it here in verse 6. But I speak this by permission and not of commandment. All right, so it's not, but this is the thing that is recommended, because what you don't want, we don't want these men, your husband, to go out and be and commit adultery because of his desires. After all, it's written here as well that it's better to marry than to burn. All right, you do that because it is your duty as a wife, it's your duty as a spouse to satisfy the husband. All right, you keep his belly filled and he's not empty. Basically, that's what it's going into. Trying to explain this as best as possible, but I don't really have much understanding in this matter, since once again not married. All right, and I didn't actually want to do a video on this. I was going to, let me go back to that comment. From Noah Mali, I was going to leave it alone, but you see, what was I going to say again? I was going to leave it alone, but he replied. After I made my response to his comments, he replied back, started out, as I said, I would do a video on it. This is the comment right here, and it reads: "The seed of a man is life, not for pleasures of the flesh. You just swallow life, children, creation of the Most High. I feel deeply ashamed for myself to be a part of this fornication of wickedness in the flesh in my life, like the son who spilled his seed on the ground. Empty her man before he leaves. That is straight folly. That is not why the seed is made for regeneration. And I guess it's not finished. If you want to add more, but basically what this is going into is that the seed is a man's of course we 100% we agree that that seed is life, all right. But then I start asking the other questions concerning this seed. Okay, if pouring out your seed is wickedness, like the apostle Gaba always asks, what about wet dreams? All right, because nearly all men have it, in varying degrees. What about wet dreams? Didn't the Most High orchestrate that? If pouring a man's seed is wicked, why would you have wet dreams? If and even more so, I also put up this comment, and I told him straight up, okay, that the reason why the Most High destroyed Onan, which is going into that story that I was talking about, the man that poured, is like the son who spilled his seed, and that story is going into the first two sons of Judah, and Onan, and you can read about that story in the book of Genesis, the 38th chapter. Right, but basically it wasn't because he poured his seed, alright, because guess what? Ejaculating, releasing seed is unclean, okay? Giving birth to children is unclean, alright? Because I'm not going to argue, okay, children are a blessing, children are great and all that, but and also the fact that the sperm is life, okay, the seed is life, okay, all that, but let's not act like the act of sex is something that is holy, all right, because it is not. It's an unclean act, okay. If you really want to get literal about it, because what the scriptures say, that after a man releases the seed of his copulation, that he is unclean until evening. And after a woman gives birth to a child, depending on the child, if it's a male child, she's unclean 7 days. If it's a female child, she's unclean 14 days. So let me get that, okay. And this video is being done so that there won't be any confusion in these truths, because when we say that, all right, and it's also in the scriptures as well, that what we say, that what sex is for comfort, all right, it's for pleasure as well, not just for childbirth, okay, because it's something that comes from wacky-tacky Christianity. They say that, oh, sex is holy, having sex it's this and that and that and this, it's made only for childbirth, which is not the case, all right. So let me get that first precept. I believe that is in the book of Leviticus, the 12th chapter, but just to make sure, I want to get the first one, the seed of copulation. All right, here it is. So this is the book of Leviticus 15 verse 6, and it reads, and if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and shall be unclean until the evening. And every garment and every skin whereon the seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the evening. The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the evening. And that's clearly tell you that what if you skid all up, if you bust the nuts, if you ejaculate, release your seed, that makes you, you're immediately, that's unclean, all right. I have to wash yourself and be unclean until evening. And if you understand scripture, that means that you're unclean for the whole day. And the reason why you're unclean until evening is because the evening or sundown is the mark of a new day, okay. So you make yourself unclean for that whole day, which is why we say in Great Millstone that you can't have sex on the Sabbath, all right. You can't lie with your wife on the Sabbath, because that makes you unclean. And the Sabbath is what? A day, the Sabbath is a day of rest, okay, a day that you use to honor the Most High, by resting on that day, because 6 days did Yahweh Hashem Yahushai create the earth, and on the last day he rested. And the same thing we do as his people, all right. We follow in his way. We work for the 6 days, and on the last day we rest. And that also includes not having sex, okay. In the book of Isaiah, I told you that word, that if you would withdraw from doing your pleasures on the Sabbath, roughly paraphrasing. So now to get the next precept, that giving birth is also unclean, all right. Let me go to that. Here it is, Leviticus 12 verse 2, and it reads, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of separation for her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation unto the priest. Right, and that's telling you that what the act of, once again, the act of releasing seed, all right, releasing seed and childbirth are both unclean acts, in which if if a woman gives birth, she's unclean, and she's unclean for, if it's depending on the child. If it's a male child, she's unclean. If it's a male child, so like, yeah, she's unclean 7 days. If it's a female child, it's 2 weeks, and even more so, she has to go through the rite of purification for, for a male child is 33 days, but for a female child is I believe it's 66 days. All right, so it's so double for a female. All right, and to double the male's time for a female child. Okay, and that's once again showing you that the act of releasing seed, the act of sex, and the act of giving birth to a child are all unclean. And even during this time of the childbirth, during the time of this purification, all right, you are not even allowed to go into the temple, and you cannot touch anything that is considered holy. All right, so what's that telling you, man? That God, the person is unclean. So this idea that sex is some kind of holy act that was, that there's some kind of holy act that was given by God to men, for the sole purpose of giving birth, and it's something that is beautiful or some shit like that, that is, just from Wakitaki Christianity, which of course we don't argue, which of course, don't get me wrong, okay, sex is, it's a good thing, obviously, all right, childbirth is a good thing, obviously, the seed of a man is life, okay, because that is what is continuing his bloodline, all right, that is all well and good, all right, but what is unclean is still unclean, and as the scripture says, who can make a clean thing out of something that is unclean, all right, so this whole idea that, we are in this truth, we shouldn't be discussing things, this whole idea that all we that are in this truth, that we have to keep, sex completely holy, and they start bringing out precepts like, oh, kill the bed undefiled, avoid flee youthful lust, and all this and that, alright, which of course they don't even understand what those precepts mean. And this person, he also talked about fornication. He doesn't even understand what fornication means, alright. Fornication is going into strange flesh, alright. Fornication is messing with strange flesh, basically doing everything but the act of sex, alright. Because what is, because if we, the scriptures clearly tell you what sex is, a man lying with a woman, alright, and that means that doesn't mean going up in the butt, okay, that not that is not a part of it, alright. That doesn't mean a man lying with a man, or a man lying with a beast, or a woman lying with a woman. That is not sex, alright. That's wickedness, that's confusion, that's the strange flesh that the scriptures was talking about. What actual sex is a man lying with a woman, okay. And I guess his problem with it, but and I guess he's okay with the whole act of oral sex, but his problem is basically that, oh, you're wasting sperm or something like that. Well, it's hard to waste something that you have an infinite supply, that you have a near infinite supply of, because guess what, a man can release seed up until the point that he dies. And I was trying to keep it scriptural, not trying to go into science or biology or anything like that, but the scriptures also deal with biology, okay. And what happens when a man, he releases his seed, that's millions upon millions of those sperm cells, okay, and only one of them actually fertilizes the egg. So what happened to those millions of sperm cells? Do you want to say that they were killed off too? Because guess what, the actual life, okay, actually starts when the egg is fertilized, the actual life, actually, the actual life, the actual seed is conceived. The seed is conceived when the egg is fertilized. Okay. But anyway, let me read my, anyway, I want to get something else that I brought out in my comment. I basically said that sex isn't just for childbearing, okay? Otherwise, you would have to explain the men in the scriptures that went into harlots. And basically, I was speaking about, the men in the scriptures that were dealing with prostitutes, okay? Because that actually happened. A good example is the book of Judges, the 4th chapter, or is it the fourth chapter? Sakya. I can't remember exactly, but let me, I have to get that. Let me just quickly jump to it, so I'll make sure I didn't forget, because when I had this, I always had this kind of precepts locked in my mind for these kind of people, man. When they come out and say their ish, I could just bring this out and use it to cut, use it to cut them, okay? Because this is the correct doctrine. That wasn't the right precept. Yeah, it wasn't the right verse. I made a mistake. I think let me try. I made a mistake. Okay, yeah, this is it right here. No, this isn't it either. This isn't it either. I made a mistake. Yeah, I made a mistake. Let me just get it. Let me look for it. Okay, Judges 16. So this is the book of Judges 16, verse 1, and it reads, Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there an harlot, and went in unto her. Alright, and that's basically it. Okay, Samson, he lay with a harlot, alright, and I'm trying to avoid using the sex word because of this YouTube, man. But basically, he laid with an harlot, okay, and he also had the same thing happen to the forefathers of the so-called Negroes, alright, specifically the North American Negroes, and even my forefather as well. Just trying to give him the title, but basically, but Judah, okay, Yahweh, that they also went looking for a harlot after his wife died. That's how the story of Judah and Tamar happened, okay, because he thought that it was just a random harlot, and he said that what, and he went into her as well, okay. So you see that, and there's even more examples, like for example the Levites, all right, during time of Judges, which the Benjamites, not the Levites, not the Levites. I was thinking of somebody else, I've forgotten the person's name. The in the book of Judges, the judge that had 38 sons, all right, and he had one son with the harlot, with the Canaanite harlot, and the son killed all the other children, and only one was left alive, and that one caused him Shimei. I think the son's name was Shimei. I can't remember the exact name, but I don't really want to go into it because I've already given enough examples. Now the reason why I know the other Malcolm as well, the other Malcolm as well responded to him, okay, which said, what about Proverbs 5:19-20? Let her breast satisfy thee, no room for your I think and I feel doctrine. That's basically what this is, and I think and I feel doctrine, since I think and I feel doctrine, since a child comes from the act of sex, it has to be perfect, it has to be done in this exact way, otherwise it's just wickedness. Anything except for that is wickedness, and it has that Christianism spirit in which a man can only marry one wife, and they have to be married under the law with a wedding ceremony, a ring, a white dress, and all that. Otherwise it's not an actual marriage. It has to be done by a minister, otherwise it's not an actual marriage, instead of the way that is written up in the scriptures. And let me just finish this up, and this is the reason why I actually did this response 2 days ago. He replied again, 1 John 2 verse 16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes, the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of the Most High abideth forever. Your harlots, lust of the flesh, right? And what this is going into is, because first and foremost, right, there's no wickedness in wanting to, that's the damn thing that's actually getting me here. What is the wickedness in your wife emptying your ball sack? What's the wickedness in there, in having sex with your wife, oral or not, as long as it's not going against the law? Because guess what, there isn't any law against oral sex, all right? So what is the wickedness there? And let me get this precept that the other Malcolm brought out first. Then I'll get the precept that he brought out. We call Proverbs, the 5th chapter, from verse 19 now. Proverbs 5:19. Let me get the precept that he brought out. We call Proverbs, the 5th chapter, from verse 19 now. Proverbs 5:19. Let me get the precept that he brought out. We call Proverbs, the 5th chapter, from verse 19 now. 5 Proverbs 5 verse 19, and it reads, let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger? That's a cut right there. That's the end. That's the whole. That's the ending of this right there. Okay, tell you the straight up that what you should take the whole love. That you should take loving from only your wife. Okay. So now let me get that. So now let me go back to this. First John 2 verse 16. Right, and let's go to it. Let's go into it. First John 2 verse 16, and it reads, which of course we all agree with this, the lust of the world, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, and all that lust. Okay, but what this was going into, a wife doing her duty as a wife and making sure that her husband is satisfied before he leaves the house. That is not wickedness, and that is not lust. All right, he's thinking that this is just misuse of scriptures, misuse of precepts. That's basically what this all boils down to. This boils down to, okay, misquoting scriptures and the whole I think I feel doctrine. This is just basically the fact that the influence of wacky-tacky Christianity has not left this individual Noah Marley. Alright, so yeah, let me just end this video right there. So with that, let's give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahwashai, Ba'asham Rachak Wadash. Okay. Through the Spirit of Akamayo Akwat were edified. Shalom.